And welcome back to the channel and happy Easter Monday to all of you. We're going to play another one of our DGC Tours World Cup of Design courses, and this one's from someone who's completely new, I believe, to the forums. It's just the one post, and it's Franklin Hills National, so this is another alternate entry. I don't have a ton of info about this one, and as the design's only made the one post, I don't know anything about them. We're going to go medium, southeast. Hey Finley. Keep everything at default. So let's just check. We are going to go 3 and let's go gold tees because we'll always judge off the back tees unless you tell us otherwise. Hey Saucy. So yeah, like I say, I know very little about this one, but we'll dig into it. I'm going to presume it's probably a newer designer, which is fine. We will give some feedback and things like that. And contests, particularly alternate entries, are quite nice for newer designers to get eyes on their work and get some feedback that frankly you just don't get otherwise. So I'm going to load up and fly around and we will see what we can see. We have some big bunkers, kind of wasty stuff. We have a lake, which we're working towards. I guess kind of like wasty, raggedy Pine Valley sort of style. And an autumnal setting, which I've always liked. I think those work well. Actually, in the harvest theme rather than autumn, which generally means that you have fewer autogen trees to work with. Okay, we're going to just play around and see what we get. Now, bunker-wise, they're probably, as I say, I'm assuming probably a newer designer. There's a couple of things that would lend credence to that idea. Bunkers, I would suggest moving your grass. Like the autogen grass is just a little bit messy. You can see where it is all autogen and it's coming in. You'll want to move that away from the bunkers a little bit more, and sometimes it's kind of creeping into them and obtruding, kind of being a bit obtrusive. Like blending bunkers with native tends to work on the side away from line of play, so we would see this part. Additionally, this berry tree is very, very bright, so try and make your colours work a little bit neater. And you can see more of the grassy stuff there as well and how that's interacting. I like that you've gone for the funkier bunker shapes. Do you think you could probably use a little bit more sculpting? This side was good, the way you've raised up the back. This one's a little bit, as soon as you go with the really funky shapes, the sculpting gets a bit trickier as well. But good first sight line, we can see where we're going. And in terms of, yeah, we've managed our green transition nicely, so I can tell you've watched some tutorials, which is good. This bunker is perhaps a touch awkward in where it's just the way the hillside's working. We'll talk about that in a second. All right, let's hit hopefully a decent-ish drive. I think I have my sound turned down. And we're just about to stay there. Cool, so we have a little wedge shot into this. I think I like the way you've done kind of mulch or pine straw area. It looks like this is terrain painted. If so, I'd probably do it with brushes rather than the spline and just vary the intensity so it just blends a little bit better around the edges. It just gets very hard and you can control it a bit more. Surface weathering for the paths behind looks really nice. It's a good decision. The green sculpting isn't overdone. That's also nicely decided. We have a wind one way, lie the other. Let's go here. Looks pretty good. Where was this in my CC rounds this morning? One round was good, the other was terrible. 137s is a decent enough speed on the slower side. I really struggle with slow green. That was definitely what killed me this morning. Okay, nice little pan around camera. Yeah, agreed. And like, kudos for just chucking it in. Like, why wouldn't you? You get some feedback on this and see what you need to do a little bit more. I've said this on a bunch of playthroughs, but generally back bunkers are really hard to do well. You have to be laying them into a hill that's already there. You've done a really good job of sculpting this one so that we can see it from the sightline. That's not so much the problem. The problem is because you're sculpting it and thinking about the sightline, actually this is the sort of bunker we wouldn't see typically from the tee, and that's okay. Like, because it's behind a green and it'd be dropping down, like you don't need to raise up the back because that then creates this kind of unnatural look. Again, I like that you haven't overdone the green. We've got a single tier in here, but you've thought about it and it's not just really hard, kind of just one way to the other. It is falling backwards this way a touch as well. Wind is a little challenging. And the grass feels a little bit more defined here. I would probably, it does, I might be wrong. I may be wrong. It feels like the grass is mostly autogen, if not entirely. I think if you're doing this, you're kind of saying, well, these are the paths through it, in which case I'd be planting a little bit more around here and here. One other thing that you'd find will make life easier for you with planting as well, make your tee boxes a little bit bigger, that they take up a bit more space. Partly, it's very rare to see just single circles the width of a tee. If you think about maintenance in real life, they'll move the tees around so that you don't wear out one area of the tee over and over again. So there's a good reason to do that, but practically as well, it will just help you with your planting. And then we go from just again thinking about why you're doing what you're doing. You've got really heavy grass over here, and then absolutely nothing here. I think you'd want to flesh out your environment a bit more. Like either have grass here or have your fairway here so that there's a reason that it's cut. I do like that you've given us a fairway apron, even though most of it is unusable. This stuff is really just giving you a buffer before the bunker. We don't need it. Whereas this part you do need a little bit more. Let's go. Absolutely horrendous swing. Still clearing that bunker. I do like the front bunker as well, by the way. I think it's a nice shape. Good ragged edge on the top. That can just cozy up close-ish. One other thing that you may not realize for a little while, the autogen trees that they give you are really, really big. So it feels like a lot of your trees are quite large, which is what's casting quite significant shadows. So just be wary of some of those. Okay, this one, playing round the corner, does have a little bit of a Pine Valley feel. With that in mind, I think it would be really cool if you did work some grasses into here. Like this is a potentially really cool hazard. I like the bunker shape that it feels nice and ragged and kind of random. It would feel even more at home if you had some grasses and bushes and things in with it, all sunken down, so it's not really bothering the sightline. But I like this hole. Playability wise, the thing I would change is you've given me a very wide landing zone for driver, which is what most people are going to hit. But you've given me nothing for 3-wood, which is kind of, it's making my choice for me. Whereas what you should probably be doing is the opposite, like give me really wide for 3-wood and then tighten it a bit more for driver. Then it gives the players a little bit more to think about. Yep, that's the swing I had this morning. Terrible shot. I like that you haven't done a tier on this green, and it's like you varied your greens nicely. So this one's more shallow. I don't think I can hit this shot, but I will try. I cannot hit this shot. My guy can't draw the ball at all. So yeah, with this one, depth is more the challenge. Although I guess we've had the previous hole was also kind of side on. Anyway, we'll cozy it up. One other thing you may want to try as well is just weathering your grasses. As you can see here, they're all the same shade of green. If you add that weathering tool to the grasses, it will change the colours and make them work a little bit better. Another really good sideline here. Like, I think you can drop your bunkers just a bit more. Like you'll still want to sculpt the bunker here, so this is like the low point, and then it kind of rises up a bit more to this. There's some good stuff here. A good swing. And this one with the diagonal hazards did actually make me think a bit more off the tee as to where I wanted to be. The only thing it's not really doing is if you look at considering like, do I want to carry it all the way over here? I don't really get much of an advantage for doing it. It does. I looked in the database. I think might have had one course in the database before as an approved course, but certainly hadn't signed up and got feedback. So as a second course for feedback, that's pretty good. Like you might want to think about if you carry it this side, you get a preferential angle, or you don't have to go over the hazards or what have you. Additionally, having just praised the variety of greens, we are kind of still side on with this green, like the orientation is going this way rather than like lengthways, or just try and vary as much as you can do. But yeah, like sightline's really good. I can see everything that you want me to see. Terrible shot. And this is a par 5. As a par 5, I'd probably want a little bit more danger on this hole. Not that easy is bad. I just think you want a bit more than this. Goes on down. And misses the putt because I'm dreadful on slow greens. Slash playing terribly today. Yeah, and with this camera, you like train your eye to start immediately seeing the empty areas up here and the bit of grass there. Just so you know, with all of my playthrough videos, I typically spend a long time on the first 3 holes, and then after that, you just see the same stuff again and again and again. So you'll see things like building bunkers into hills. We've got the same thing here. Like, I probably had some trees up here. Maybe it's just very empty as well. You've got the autogen grass stuff and like where it's quite empty versus where it isn't. You see the same things. I won't rehash those just because you'll now see them and hopefully understand them. Terrible tee shot, but it doesn't really matter given where I am. The only other thing I'd add on this one, the last 2 greens size-wise have gotten away from you a bit. Like this is pretty huge. We're looking at what, 204 down to 146, so that's 60 odd, 55 yards of green. Like at most, I'd say you want 40, really, and even then, that would be, yeah, be quite a big green. Oh, got a good strike out of that. It's not going to go anywhere because the greens are slow. It's all right. I think the other thing when you're using autogen planting is things like this solitary blade of grass really stands out. Like the autogen planting is, I would say, good for like filling up if it might be needed. So if your course needs a lot of planting, it's good for kind of colouring in the gaps, shall we say, but you want the stuff that you've put around the holes to look the best. This looks nice. I'd say the green is again huge, but I like where you're placing the bunkers and how you're using those to give the hole an identity. But again, we've seen the same thing where, let's say I had a 260 driver, I am absolutely screwed. So just really think about driver distance, because some people do have that length of driver when they start out. You start out with the 265 guy. Imagine this into a headwind, and you've got nothing because you've cut off the fairway so much here. Whereas it's really wide for the longer drivers. So just make sure that it's playable for everyone. And whilst I like the diagonal carry, I don't really think it matters too much here. I don't necessarily get a better approach angle. It's a big, so although this one's a big green, what you have done nicely is had a really big slope within it so that it plays smaller. Still think the green is too big. You can have a better effect by shrinking it. But that works nicely. That will need to go a little bit, I think, to get up that slope. Did just about. I did not want the putt from the bottom. I like this one plays into a little grove of trees. I think the bunkering around the green looks really nice from here. There's some really good stuff. I was hoping this feels. Oh, well, there we go. I remember when I had my very first contest entry, way back in 2019, I think, so 6 years ago now. And the feedback I got from that was just so much stuff that I'd never considered and was just really illuminating. And things like scaling and sizing were at the forefront of that. This feels similar in that sense. A lot of the ideas are good. It's just a little bit too big. This one I feel is a bit of a... I like what you're trying to do with this runoff here. It's just a little bit clumsy. Like you'll that sounds harsh. What I mean is you'll learn to do this better. The idea is not bad. The execution could be tidier. And again here, like the green shape itself, there should be a reason really why you're not putting the green like all of here. And imagine if you land here and you're trying to putt to there, I'd expect there would be a dip here or a mound or a bunker. Like all of those things would justify this weird shape. Without that, it's just a, well, why wouldn't you just mow from here because you can? I do like that you haven't totally tried to raise up the back bunker. Like you've been happy that this bit's unseen and then it dips down. That's much better. Okay, 183. I think that is the club. Decent shot. We're going to land just on that flat part. And I have an email notification. Excellent. I can wait. Terrible chip as ever. But we hole up up. Hooray! Yeah, the super bright sunken orange tree is just a bit jarring compared to the others. The others all make sense given the foliage we've got. Okay, so this one's giving me 3 wood. So here you've done a better job of saying, well, 3 wood is safe. Look at all that width. I think this tree is too close to your playable area. But other than that, this one potentially 2 as well. But it does shrink down a little bit more if you're taking driver, and also you've got that bit of fairway camber. And you can smooth out your sculpting here, but that'll come. But yeah, like I could take driver 3 wood safely, or driver gets me more of a shot at the green and not obscured by that tree. So I like this as a tee shot. And there's the classic small child interruption. So I think for me, the play is like a little bit of a partial driver. I like the look. I would probably just like you've got a really nice kind of high ridge line here, potentially high here. Just lower a little bit down here in front so that we can see those bunkers a bit more. Yeah, Rory's hitting balls around the garden every single day and loves it. Lily, less so. She's not interested really. Yeah, same thing with the green size, I think here. The feature of, so you can see we've got this high ring almost here where it's all breaking away this way and then hard this way. I think you can just soften that and flatten it a little bit more, particularly on a long par 4. On dirt. He did, yeah. He was very happy about that. That'll be decent. Should you use the slope and just roll down? Nice. I like the pin position because you've given us a way to get it close. It's not like totally punitive. Rory is a Rory fan. He got very excited. Okay, so now we're bringing the water in, and here I can see you have done some grass planting around it, which is nice. So yeah, and that works really well. You are doing the thing again where driver, really easy, 3 wood, phenomenally difficult. That's, I think, just going to be a constant. I like the bunker layering otherwise. I think that's probably your main thing to learn is that with driver, I'm not having to think at all off the tee. Just look at other courses and see how they do difficulty off the tee and how they make you question what club you have, things like that. Up 40, so good bit of elevation change and interesting tiering. Okay, so up 40 and into the wind, that's taking up at least 10. 189 seems fine. That's bleeding right. It was the club as well. Not a great chip. But we salvage it with a decent part on the way back. Okay, back over the water. Yeah, again, like hitting driver dead straight is the obvious play, and it just leads to it becoming very point and shoot. You just have to execute. And that is a style of golf. But I think, I guess the way I'd explain this is none of your bunkers, nice as they are, really matter in terms of play. That's there to penalise a miss hit. It's not really guarding a strategic line of play as much as it could. Yeah, that'd be my other main, like, which is common for newer designers. Like, we don't, when we start, we don't tend to know why we're putting bunkers where we're putting them, other than that they look good, and gradually we learn how to make the bunkers actually impactful as well as looking good. Where are we going here? Okay. I appreciate the commitment to the cameras. Short downhill par, well, shortish downhill par 3. This one's set up nicely on a bit more of a diagonal, which means we have to think more about club selection. Again, you just scale them. Like, your green size is a bit too big. One thing or tip I would give you for that is go to Google Earth, find a course that you know and want to be inspired by. Just bear in mind that there are some courses that have giant greens. But measure how big they are. So if you were going down, I don't know, let's say a Pine Valley route, look at how big they are and how they play and try and understand those sorts of sizing. Pine Valley, obviously, a very distinctive course. If you're looking at Oakmont, it might be different. If you're looking at Pinehurst, it'd be different still. If you're going to look at, say, Pebble Beach, they'll be tiny. So they all have kind of characteristics, but just to give yourself a frame of reference. Okay, so now we have big waste bunker. What is pretty common when we get really elaborate shapes with complex sculpting is, again, this will be one you come back to and realize, like, technically we can tidy it up a little bit. That said, I like that you put the bunker at the end of the fairway rather than just somewhere in the middle. We're just going to pop a ball down there. I think 45 would be huge. I would go kind of 30 to 40, but honestly, like 25 even. But yeah, have like your framework and work out what that is and what kind of other people do. Like, if you looked at how I'll do it on the next hole. But if you looked at how I measured yours, for example, you can go into matches now and do it this way. So go to the yardage book and work out. Okay, to the back of the green it's 493, and to the front it's 460. And actually, this one I'd say is your best proportioned green of all of them. It looks like it's a little bit big still. Like, the length I'd say is a long length, and then I'd probably be cutting it off about here. But this can work if you give it big slopes or if you want a really easy hole. I like that you've put the bunker on this side for a change, because we've had a couple where we've cut cross diagonally the other way. That's a terrible drive, and I might have gotten away with it. And I appreciate that you've given us an open front to the green and that you've just run the green from front to back and let that be the whole defence. It's a really nice way to do it. And it means that this shot is challenging without the need for the bunkers. Bunker on this side looks great, presents really nicely. And I like that we can see the other hole behind it. Please hit the green. I feel like if it hits the fairway, it's flying on through. Yeah. Like, it's a challenging approach shot purely by what you've done with the green. Maybe a bit hard. It's okay. We will take that. Hey, Finish on 5-4-3-4-5, 3-4-5-4-5 even. This green again looks just a touch on the big side, but generally better proportioned. Oh, that's not the one we're playing. I would also recommend you dial down the number of greens that are angled across the line of play, just because if it's straight across, it's purely a question of how much we can carry, rather than which side do you want to be, things like that, or like which club are you taking depending on where the pin is. I would. It's just a couple of ones I've noticed, but you'll want to double check you've flattened your tees as well. Like, this isn't really going to make a difference to the shot, but it's just a neatness thing. They don't all need to be perfectly flat, just like close. I will say I'm not mentioning things like the autogen planting again. Like, we've covered that. I don't think I need to keep reminding. But I liked that you've given us a backstop on that. I could play a little bit more. Green sculpting on this one's interesting. Like, you've got a tier here which leads into a little pocket, one here as well. I think the reason you'd want a slightly smaller green as well is because it just feels like here's this green, here's this green, here's this green, here's this green. And they don't really, with the exception of this slope, work together that well. If you bring them all closer, then it feels more cohesive. And when you're playing 4 rounds, you kind of understand the whole a little bit better, because you see the slopes interact differently for different. Okay, now we're heading out to the big lake. Yeah, I like this. Is simple and done nicely. Like, looks great. Really good sight line again. The one thing I'd say is all of your bunkers just aren't really affecting play at all. I guess they kind of are in that I maybe want to be down the left hand side to avoid that bunker. But I'm just going to hit driver regardless, and none of them are really threatening that, he says. Middle of the fairway is quite easy on that. I think maybe that just comes with experience of like knowing how the game plays a little bit more at higher levels. That should work quite nicely. Yeah, pretty happy with that approach shot. I like your little boathouse back there as well. It's nicely done. It's good to get a bit of a change in environment as well. Of course, I missed the putt. Best approach shot all day. I also like that you've taken us to a lake and are then just keeping us there. Like, enjoy being there. Definitely lose this. We're right by the water. You've got a really great natural hazard, and we've put a tree there and just taken all of that away because you've done tree-lined holes everywhere. The hole would look and play way better without it. So it's just a bit of a shame. Ooh. Okay, I think I can aim at that bunker. This is asking more of a question now. I definitely can't go left. It's pretty simple as a question. But sometimes those are the most challenging ones. This is like, you can bail out right. That works well. I don't understand the solitary circle bunker on a course that has all of those ones. Like, just be consistent. All right, let's pop it down there. Slight underswing, but I could see it was downhill from here, and I still can't judge the slow greens. Really have found my kryptonite with these. Still, -7's not too bad. I've seen that camera before. So now playing away from the water. I think bunker shaping is just getting a little bit messier now. Again, pick the course that you're inspired by and look at how they've done those bunkers. But at least I'm like, this is a much better challenge off the tee. And I really like the green sight and the fact that it's got this false front here. I'd go as far as to say this is the best hole playability wise. I'll try and start it over the left hand bunker. Just light rough would be good. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Up to here should be about where we want. That's nice. I'll go in the hole. Oh, there we are. Where was this on CC? We'll take a replay of that. Lovely shot. Bounce, bounce. Beautiful. Okay, let's see what we've got on 18. R5 to finish. Gets a camera. Lots of bunkers. And we've got the bunkers all down the left, and then let's just find the fairway. That should be okay, I think. Leaning my head in, hope. Yeah. Lands in the light rough, and we're absolutely fine there. Hey, GG. And we're finishing with another side on green. Do one last approach shot. I don't think it's going to be firm enough that this bounces up. Yeah, not quite. Really close. Roll it up to there and hopefully hole a putt. And -10 is not too bad. Almost missed that as well. -10 is pretty solid for that round. Okay. Like I say, it was kind of as expected. Well, not as expected from a new designer. There's a ton of good stuff and like loads for you to build on. I really hope the feedback is useful. Things I would particularly prioritize are scaling, sizing, shaping. The sculpting was okay. Just look at the bunkers, and like bunkers for everyone starting out are a work in progress. Really also look at hole design and kind of how you can make holes play interestingly and like challenge driver. 17 was a good example of how you can challenge driver. And actually the two holes by the water had something going there as well. Just particularly on the approach shots, just by simply putting the green in an obvious spot with water and having restraint around it. Yeah, I think it's a lot of just keep watching tutorials, keep going through practice courses, and really just like I've got a thread on the forums about how to get better, like a guide on that, which I'll link in the description below. Try to do as much of that as possible and be a magpie, like play different courses and work out how people are doing that. What are they doing? How have they made this interesting? Because like it's video game golf, we can't have that experience of real life where just like you it's amazing just because you're playing golf. Like it has to be a bit more manufactured. So pick up how people do difficulty, how they challenge tee shots, how they make their greens interesting, all of those sorts of things, how they do their planting, and just really enjoy the journey. Like it's a bunch of fun. I've never had more fun in a game than when I was first learning designer. Now it's just more of a grind. Anyway, so that is Franklin Hills National. Give it a play. It's a lot of fun, and found my stride on the back nine a bit more. And certainly, I remember that shot on 17 for a while.